Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be making this movie poster, and the file starts off like this, and I'm going to walk you through all the stages to get it to look like that. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to mask out this photo. The easiest way to do that is with the object selection tool. If you don't have it, just click and hold on this fourth one down until you get it, and make sure you're on that layer and click on it, and you'll see it should become purple, and it's going to do some AI to kind of figure out where it is, and then we just click on this button to mask out the background. Now you can see that when we mask things, you don't have to do this, but when I draw white, it will bring stuff back, and when I use black, it will erase. So we mask because it's better than erasing, because you don't lose the information, it's always there. The next thing we're going to do is let's move this guy with the move tool down here, and maybe let's shrink him a little bit. Alright, there we go. And then just hit enter when you're done. You'll see that there's a little thing down here. I'm going to turn these two layers off for now and double click on my background, and then just click OK, and that way you'll be able to do things to your background, manipulate it. Using the selection tool right here, I'm going to just select this little area and just click generative fill, and that will use AI to fill that in. Just click generate when you're done. You don't have to type anything. This is fun. Alright, and you can see it puts on a new layer. So now we have this guy, and we have this explosion. Now to get this explosion to look like it's there, let's go to this layer and just change this to a lighten. Actually, screen kind of looks good. Let's do screen. And that's going to get rid of the black areas. It'll only show the lighter areas. So there we go. Nice explosion right here. I'm going to maybe shrink that down just a little bit, and if I hold down Alt, it'll go from the center just a smidge like that. Perfect. Okay, next thing we want to do is let's do a little bit of color grading. So I'm going to take these two layers, holding down Shift. I'm going to select both, and then I'm going to click a folder, and we'll just call this one background. Now I'm going to use what's called an adjustment layer on the background by clicking on this little circle that's got a half white, half black. I'm going to go to exposure, and I'm going to bring the exposure way up. And I'm also going to create a new adjustment layer for color balance. I'm going to bring the reds and the yellows way up. Now I don't want this to apply everywhere, so you'll notice that these come with a mask. I'm going to use the paint bucket right here, choosing black. I'm going to click on the mask, and then I'm going to paint bucket fill, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the exposure one. And what that's going to allow me to do is just paint in the areas where I want this to appear. So now I'm going to switch to white, and using a soft round brush with a lower flow, I can paint in the areas where the light of the explosion would maybe kind of light things up a little bit more, like that. Maybe on these pillars. I'm not using my tablet. You can if you want to, but we've had some problems with the tablets lately. Something like that. And it'll get darker as we get them further away. And then on the same thing on the color balance, I want some of that orange glow. So anywhere I draw white, it's going to kind of reflect some of that orange from the explosion, and that kind of matches his color a little bit. So just get some of that in there wherever you think it should go, and there we go. Next thing I'm going to do is crop this so it looks like a movie poster. So I'm going to use the cropping tool, and I want to do 24 by 36 aspect ratio, and if you oops, and that should put us right about there. If you want to move it, you can use the arrow keys to kind of nudge it left and right if you hold down Shift. Let's actually do this though. Let's go a little bit bigger than our area. something like that, and you'll see that there's some negative space up there. Well, what do we do about that? Go down to your background layer, click on layer 0, and let's select that, and then just click a generative fill. And we'll do the same thing to the top, and it's actually going to try to figure out what would go in those places. Generative fill, generate. And you'll notice that the colors are off. That's because we should have done this before we did our color grading. So I'm actually going to have to go in with some black paint and fix that real quick. So go to your exposure one, and using black paint, just turn the exposure down on that. And the same thing up here. And do the same thing to your color balance, so we don't have that orange there. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of him that got cut off, and I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll show you how you can fix that later. You can see like the bottom right there. We'll fix that later. Next thing I'm going to do is add some text. So let's go ahead and go to the top layer, make a new text layer with the T, draw a box right here, and we're going to call it, this is Death Guy. Death Enter Guy. Select that text, make it white for now, just so you can see it. I'm using an Arial bold italic for this font, and let's make the size 150. If it doesn't fit, make the text box bigger so that it does. Oh. And you can make that go to both edges right there so that it centers. I'm also going to want to adjust the spacing on this. So click on these 3 dots, more properties. Nope, never mind. I don't see it. Okay, let's do it this way. Go to Window, Character. And this right here is the line spacing. It says auto right now. So if you drag it left and right, you can get it. 132 seems about right for a 150 point font. And so we end up with this. Now we're going to apply a layer style to this. And we're going to do that by going into Layer, Layer Style. And let's go ahead and, oops, what did I click on? Layer, Layer Style. Let's go ahead and add a drop shadow. The default settings on this might not look like mine. I want to turn the opacity all the way up. I set the distance to 30, the spread to 35, the size to 25-ish. And then the angle is going to determine which way. I want that angle to probably go straight up, or maybe a little bit to the left like that. And you can decide if you want it to be more intense. Finally, I'm going to add a color gradient overlay. So click on Gradient Overlay. Set the opacity to 100. Go into the gradients, choose orange, and I chose this one right here, so it had this kind of cool look to it. You can adjust the scale of that if you wanted to. You can make it bigger or smaller, but I'm going to go and just leave it. And I want to put the angle maybe a little bit kind of diagonal. I think that looks cool right there. And let's go ahead and click OK. Last thing I'm going to do is at the bottom here, I want it to be dark because I want to put some movie poster text on it like this. So we're going to do a little trick here, and that'll also hide our little area right there. Actually, you know what I could do is I could just go to that layer of the guy and then just select that and generate and fill it. And maybe it'll figure out what goes there. You may not have that problem. Maybe your guy wasn't that far down, whatever. Oh, cool, that works. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is create a new layer on top, and I'm gonna use this rectangle marquee tool to just select a little area right there. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do this. Go to the gradient tool, and using black and white, which you can select right there, let's draw a little gradient like that. And set the mode on this to darken. Now let's do multiply, sorry. Pull the opacity down a little bit so it looks something like that. And then we're going to go on to Google, and I just searched up movie poster text. This is the first thing that popped up. This is fine. I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to paste it. Let's stick it here. Control T. Let's kind of fill that frame a little bit. And then we're going to do a image adjustments invert. So it becomes black and white instead of white and black. And then I'm going to set the mode again to screen. Let's see how screen looks. Yeah, screen looks perfect. And there you go. You can see a little bit of a line right there, but let's not worry about it. So now we have ourselves a movie poster. And not only did we put everything together, we did some color grading with these adjustment layers, which makes everything really nicely fit together. We added our movie text, our title at the top. We moved him where he needed to go. We used generative fill to help us fill in some of the missing spots. And we are compositing like a professional.